Fine. So we were doing the attitude change, and under attitude change, we have completed the process. We have started the process actually, and we have done the concept of cognitive dissonance. We have discussed about the process, the concept of cognitive dissonance yesterday, and it comes under the process of attitude change. We have also discussed about an example which has been conducted by Festinger and Carl Smith, that is box number 6.2. Please go through that example because boxes are also coming. So we have to do this portion also. It is on page number 113, box 6.2. This is also explaining the process, the concept of cognitive dissonance. Fine. So from today, I'm starting the third concept, the third process of attitude change, and that is the two-step concept. This concept is known as two-step concept, and it has been given by psychologist S.M. Mohsin. The name of the psychologist is S.M. Mohsin, and he is an Indian psychologist. Very rarely we used to see the Indian names, but this concept has been given by S.M. Mohsin, an Indian psychologist. What is it all about? In this process, as the name is suggesting, as we can get an idea that there are two steps in this concept. So there are two steps also, and there are two persons. First is the target person, and the second one is source person. What does it mean? The target is the person whose attitude is to be changed. Target कौन है जिसका attitude हमें change करना है, and the source is the person through whose influence the change is to take place. Now, source person, the person who is influencing the attitude of target person, and somehow the source person is able to change the attitude of the target person. So, who is the source person through whose influence the change is to take place? Now, we'll understand this concept with the help of an example. It will be very easier for all of you to understand. Now, there is a word you all can see, identification. Now, what does this mean? Identification means that the target has liking and regard for the source. The target person whose influence or with whose influence the attitude is changing. So the target person is also having the liking or some regard for the source person. She puts herself in the place of the target and tries to feel like her or him. The source must also have a positive attitude towards the target, and the regard and attraction becomes mutual. Now just we can take the example, and then only you're going to understand the things, but please be clear that who is target and who is the source person. Fine. There is an example. Preeti reads in the newspaper that a particular soft drink that she enjoys is extremely harmful, right? But Preeti sees that her favorite sports person has been advertising the same soft drink. She has identified herself with the sports person. Now got the term identification means in which the target person is identifying herself or himself with the source person. Or you can also take the source person, and the other word we can use role model. Fine. So Preeti sees her favorite sports person has been advertising the same soft drink, and she has identified herself with the sports person and would like to imitate him. Earlier, what she has read about this soft drink in the newspaper, that this is harmful for the health. But as her role model or as her source person is giving, doing advertisement for this particular drink, so she also start developing a liking for this soft drink because her role model is doing the advertisement to promote this soft drink. Now suppose the sports person wishes to change people's attitudes towards this soft drink from positive to negative. Now try to understand who is the source person, that role model. Suppose Sachin Tendulkar is there, right? Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, they used to advertise various kinds of health drinks, right? I don't remember, maybe it's Bonvita or many kinds of health drinks are there. So they used to advertise about those things. Just keep those person in your mind and try to understand this example. Now what happened? All of a sudden, that sports person now wishes to change people's attitudes toward that particular soft drink from positive to negative. Earlier, the role model, the source person is doing the advertisement to promote the particular product. But now they have, developed, or they have changed their attitude that this is not good for people's health. And as they are my fans or they are my followers, so I should not misguide them. So they have this feeling that they want to change people's attitude from positive to negative for that particular soft drink. The sports person must first show positive feelings for her or his fans. Positive feelings का मतलब अगर that a source person is feeling that somewhere this soft drink is harming the health of my fans or of my followers. So this is a positive feeling or positive attitude towards his followers, right? Now what happened? The sports person must first show positive feelings for his or her fans and then actually change his or her own habit of consuming that soft drink. First of all, the role model, the source person has to change his own habit of consuming that soft drink, right? This was step one. Two concepts are there, so this was related to first concept. What is happening in the second one? Perhaps how he will change his or own habit of consuming that soft drink, perhaps by substituting it with a health drink, right? He may start doing advertisement some other product of some other health drink which is very beneficial for our physical health, right? So he has substituted it with a health drink. If the sports person actually change his or her behavior, it is very likely that now Preeti will also change her attitude and behavior and stop consuming the harmful soft drink. Now you have got something, right? The things have been cleared. What is happening? Two step में क्या हो रहा है? There are target person and source person. ठीक है? Target person identifies with the source person and he imitates all the things whatever his source person is doing or whatever his role model is doing. ठीक है? First step में ये हो रहा है, लेकिन what is the important thing? That source person should also have some liking or should have some positive attitude towards his fans or followers. जब तक positive attitude नहीं होगा role model का अपने followers के लिए, तब तक वो उस soft drink जो कि बहुत harmful है health के लिए, उधर से switch करके किसी health drink पे नहीं advertise करेगा, right? The thing you are getting. So the source person should also have a positive attitude towards his followers or fans or the target person. Fine. This is all about step one. And step one में क्या हो रहा है? There is a feeling inside the source person that I should substitute it by with some other thing, and I should myself stop consuming this harmful thing. Step second में what is happening? That role model will stop doing the advertisement of that harmful soft drink, and now what he is doing? He is advertising some other health drink which is beneficial for our health. Fine. Now what is happening? As you know, that target person is identifying with the role model. तो रोल मॉडल जब गलत चीज का एडवर्टीजमेंट कर रहा है तब भी उसको फॉलो कर रहे हैं, और जब उसका रोल मॉडल अच्छी चीज के लिए एडवर्टीजमेंट कर रहा है तब भी वो उस चीज को फॉलो कर रहे हैं. So when Preeti finds that his favorite sports person has now started doing the advertisement of some good health drink, so she also stopped consuming. She also changed her positive attitude toward that harmful soft drink, and now what she has developed a positive attitude toward that health drink. हेल्थ ड्रिंक जिसका अब उसने सोर्स पर्सन ने एडवर्टीजमेंट करना स्टार्ट किया है, राइट? So two-step concept में first you have to explain how the attitude is changed by the target person, and the important thing is by the source person. And what is the important thing? That source person should also have some kind of positive attitude towards the target person. So do not confuse between target and source. Keep in your mind the source person ka other name, the role model. Then you will not be confused, right? And you also have to describe about the process of what? Identification. Identification is very important. Through this process only the target person is changing his or her attitude, right? Fine. So this is all about the process of attitude change. Now next come factors that influence attitude change. We have discussed about the process. Now there are various factors which also influence the change of any attitude. Now what are they? Let us start with the first feature, with the first factor, characteristics of the existing attitude. Now there are characteristics, as we have discussed. I hope you remember about the 4 important characteristics of attitude. What are they? The valence, the extremeness, the simplicity or complexity, and the centrality, right? We have discussed about all these 4 characteristics of attitude. Now what they are trying to say, you have to just remember certain things under this characteristics of the existing attitude. In general, positive attitudes are easier to change than negative attitudes. It has been observed in general that we can change somebody's positive attitudes much faster as compared to his negative attitude. If a person is having some positive attitude toward anything, toward any person, toward any situation, toward any topic, so it is much more easy to change rather than if he's having some negative attitudes toward anything. Suppose you let's take an example. A person is having a positive attitude toward casteism, right? So it will be easier to change her or his attitude, positive attitude, negative attitude, positive attitude toward that casteism. But if he's having the negative attitude towards something, so it will be little bit difficult as compared to the positive attitude. So this is generally find. What else? Extreme attitudes and central attitudes are more difficult to change than the less extreme and peripheral attitudes. जो extreme attitudes हैं, extreme में मतलब या तो जब हम 5 पॉइंट रेटिंग स्केल की बात करते हैं, तो अगर 5 नंबर पे कोई रेटिंग दे रहा है या फिर कोई 1 नंबर पे रेटिंग दे रहा है, तो उसकी एटीट्यूड जो चेंज करना है दैट विल बी डिफिकल्ट as compared if he is giving 3 or 2 or 4, right? Extreme attitudes are much difficult to change. In the same manner, central attitude, जब हमने centrality की बात की थी, जब there is only one main attitude which is guiding all other and which is playing a central role, so that central attitude is also very difficult to change as compared to the peripheral attitudes, peripheral which are not very significant, non-significant, right? So these things you have to remember, that positive attitudes are easier to change as compared to negative ones. Extreme attitudes and central attitudes are much more difficult to change than the less extreme and peripheral attitudes. In the same manner, the third thing is simple attitudes are easier to change than multiple attitudes, right? We have also talked about the characteristics in which simple attitudes are there and multiple attitudes are there. The simple attitude, jab anyone having only 1 or 2 attitudes, right, regarding any topic, and when a person is having multiple, lot of attitudes, so that would be little difficult to change. This is about the characteristics. Now, what else? Another important thing under the same heading we're going to explain, that one must also consider the direction and extent of attitude change. 2 things are there, you all can see, direction and extent of attitude change. Now what is it? As an attitude change may be congruent it may change in the same direction as the existing attitude. What does congruent means? What is congruency? When the change is in the same direction, be it negative, be it positive, but it is going in the same direction. Let us understand with an example. For instance, suppose a person has a somewhat positive attitudes towards empowerment of women. Okay, a person is having a positive attitudes towards empowerment of women, that women should be empowered, right? Reading about a successful woman may make this attitude more positive. And when that person is going through some literature, is going through some articles in which that empowerment of women is favoring, right? So that attitude, that positive attitude is strengthened. वो और ज़्यादा strengthened हो गया after reading that particular literature or content. On the other hand, an attitude change may be incongruent. What does it mean, incongruent? It may change in a direction opposite to the existing attitude. Earlier congruent में क्या हो रहा है? अगर positive है तो क्या हो रहा है? और positive हो जाएगा. अगर negative है तो कुछ पढ़ने के बाद या किसी से कोई चीज सुनने के बाद में वो और नेगेटिव हो जाएगा. लेकिन it is going into the same direction. That is why we are using the word congruent, right? Now, when we talk about that, attitudes are also incongruent. Attitude change is also incongruent. What does it mean? That earlier the attitude is positive, but after going through something or after experiencing something, the attitude is changed in the opposite direction. अगर पहले positive था, तो अब क्या हो जाएगा? Negative हो जाएगा. Let us see. It may change in a direction opposite to the existing attitude. In the example just given above, after reading about successful women, a person may think that women might soon become too powerful and neglect their family responsibilities, right? So this may make the person's existing positive attitude towards empowerment of women less positive or even negative. What is happening? Same attitude, positive attitudes toward the empowerment of women. Same person has gone through some experience where he read some content about it and then he realized कि अगर ज़्यादा power मिल जाएगी woman को तो क्या होगा? She will start neglecting her other family responsibilities which are equally important or in some way which are more important than her career. So what kind of attitude now he's having? That person is having either less positive, you can say, or sometimes it changes totally from positive to negative. Now he is not favoring the empowerment of women. He starts saying that family responsibilities are much more important for a woman and she has to take that in consideration first and her career should be on the second priority, right? So incongruent when the attitudes are in opposite direction. Congruent simply means that the attitude is going into the same direction. Fine. So this is all about incongruent and congruent. Rest of the things we're going to cover up tomorrow as time is running short. Yes, ma'am, we can stop with the recording.